All right, starting with our focus on the elections, which are going to kickstart the 5 crucial state elections on the road to 2024. Voting for the Mizoram Assembly elections and the first phase of the Chhattisgarh Assembly polls will be held tomorrow in Mizoram. Incumbent Chief Minister, the Mizo National Front's Zoramthanga, is looking to win again amid strained ties with ally BJP over the ethnic clashes in Manipur. In Chhattisgarh, left-wing extremism is a big challenge as security forces now spread out across 20 seats in the state, which are going to poll tomorrow between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m. in the state. The Congress is up against the BJP in Chhattisgarh amid corruption allegation charges against the Chief Minister Bhupesh Baghel, something that the Congress and the Chief Minister have dismissed as a BJP conspiracy.
Paramilitary forces conducting combing operation in Chhattisgarh's Mohalla Manipur district, 150 kilometers from state capital Raipur, hoping to instill confidence in voters. Ahead of elections in the left-wing extremist-affected district of Chhattisgarh, Maoists have called for a boycott and had warned political parties and candidates not to visit remote areas.
कड़े सुरक्षा के इंतजाम किए हुए हैं। सीएपीएफ फोर्सेस बाहर से आई हुई हैं और पोलिंग बूथ्स पे उनको डिप्लॉय किया गया है ताकि अच्छे से चुनाव हो सके। और जहां तक कॉन्फिडेंस बढ़ाने की बात है, लोगों में विश्वास बढ़ाने की बात है, तो फ्लैग मार्चेस रेगुलरली कंडक्ट किए गए हैं। चुनाव से पहले लोगों से बातचीत की गई है, लोगों ने विश्वास दिखाया है।
NDTV traveled to the Sarkheda village to check whether the threat of boycotting elections would work. This after a BJP leader, Birju Taram, was killed allegedly by Maoists a few days ago.
Despite the fear of violence and a boycott call by left-wing extremists, villagers who we spoke to say that they will come out and vote tomorrow as Chhattisgarh goes to the polls in 20 assembly constituencies.
Around 60,000 security personnel have been deployed for polls in Naxal-affected Bastar region, which has 12 assembly segments. More than 600 polling booths are in sensitive areas of the Naxal-hit Bastar region.
ये चुनाव संबंधित सभी कार्रवाई को सुरक्षित एवं व्यवस्थित तरीके से एग्जीक्यूट करने के लिए हमारे पास पहले से स्पेशल फोर्सेस जैसा डीआरजी है, एसटीएफ है, बीएस कोबरा है, बस्तर फाइटर्स है, उसके अतिरिक्त सेंट्रल आर्म्ड पैरामिलिट्री फोर्सेस का भी डिप्लॉयमेंट है।
But the challenge is immense. This is Jiram Ghat in Bastar, the site of the bloodiest ever hit by Naxals on a political convoy. On May 25, 2013, Naxals wiped out the top leadership of Congress. You can imagine how powerful that explosion was. This place is around 100 meters away from the main road, and the gate of Bolero, it's been 10 years, it's still here. It's around 100 meters away from the main road. With Sunil Prabhu in Mohalla Manipur, Anurag Dwari for NDTV.
That was a ground report from Chhattisgarh. Let me now bring in my colleague Zoramthanga Chaudhary, who is joining us from Mizoram, and we also have Sunil Prabhu, our colleague, who is joining us from Chhattisgarh. Sunil, what are the key points that we are looking at as far as this election is concerned in the first phase? 20 seats of Chhattisgarh, very, very crucial for the Congress party if they want to continue their lead. In 2018, they performed well in those seats. What's happening at this moment?
Well, as we've been reporting from yesterday, it's evenly poised. There are 10 districts which are, Naxal affected, and that's why they will go for polling from 7 to 3 p.m. The rest, of course, will be 8 to 5 p.m. The key issues have been, this is basically an agrarian community. The MSP has been a big issue. You saw the BJP make a promise of 3,100. The Congress has bettered it to 3,200. The cylinders has become a big emotive issue. 500 rupees, even the BJP has promised that here in the state. And then, of course, the Congress's promise of free education from KG to university. And those are the big takeaways in this election, where there, of course, has been the big issue of being from Chhattisgarh, Mr. Bhupesh Baghel, who's been leading from the front. And it's in that backdrop that Raman Singh, from where I'm really reporting, Rajnandgaon, he's been an MLA here for the last 20 years. And it's in that backdrop whether he will be in a striking chance to fight back, and that's something that we'll have to wait and watch. Much will depend on that poll outcome and how people have voted, especially in the Maoist-affected areas of Chhattisgarh.
Interesting, this election and the first phase, the Congress would be hoping to maintain their lead over the BJP. We are also being joined by my colleague Ratnadeep Chaudhary, who is tracking all the development in the state of Mizoram. The northeastern state, which is seeing a triangular fight in some seat, a quadrangular fight with the BJP, also in fact putting up candidates in 23 seats. But Ratnadeep, largely, even the BJP partners have stayed away as far as the BJP is concerned. And that's one reason why the Prime Minister did not go there and campaign. Now, this is also an important election for the Congress party. Of there any hope of revival as far as Northeast is concerned?
That's right. In fact, for the BJP, they have concentrated in the Bamit district, in the areas where you have ethnic minorities of Mizoram, particularly the Chakma community, and they would hope to increase their tally. Remember, BJP had opened its account last year, winning one seat. But as you rightly pointed out, the mood here has been largely towards the cause of the unification of the Kuki-Zo tribes after the Manipur crisis that unfolded in Manipur, and thousands of internally displaced people had to come to Mizoram. The MNF government sheltered them, and that is something which has been projected by the MNF, by the Chief Minister Zoramthanga. He has been Chief Minister for 3 terms, and he is looking for a 4th term, and he has been projected as the guardian of the larger Kuki-Zo Chin community in Northeast. But having said that, the opposition parties and also his own ally, the BJP, has racked up issues of corruption, issues of underdevelopment, poor infrastructure. Mizoram has one of the highest literacy rates in the country, but its youth unemployment rate is far higher than the national average. So that is a problem. You have the drug menace and also the porous border through Myanmar, through which the drug and other items are smuggled. So smuggling is an issue. Drug menace you have, and also the issue of migration of refugees from Myanmar in the last 2 years, ever since the Myanmar coup has taken place. And this was the first issue where the MNF government actually took a stand, which was contrary to what centre wanted it to do. The centre wanted it to push back the refugees, but they said, look, they are from the same ethnicity, so we can't do that. So all these narratives would play out, the Manipur narrative, but these elections are being made interesting by a young party called the Zoram People's Movement. And in the last election, they fought as independent candidate, but in this election, they are a registered party, and there is a buzz about them. And whether now this buzz translate into votes is something that we'll have to look forward to. But largely, their following is concentrated in the urban area. So until and unless they are able to break the rural area vote bank of the MNF, it will be a tough fight. So, and for the Congress, definitely, as you pointed out, it is a revival battle in the Northeast before the 2024 big elections.
That's right. And this also then gives somewhat of a chance as far as the ruling party is concerned, with the anti-ruling party votes being divided into the new party and, of course, the Congress as well. Thank you, Ratnadeep, for joining us with all those details. Moving on to the air emergency that Delhi is facing at this moment. And now some big measures have been announced by the government of Delhi. Odd even exercise will be implemented just a day after Diwali for 1 whole week. Now remember, there has been mixed reviews, or at least views, of the people of Delhi as far as the odd even exercise is concerned. Many view it as an essentially band-aid at the time when the pollution is peaking. Others are still looking for collaborative data to go with this exercise. Now, apart from odd even, the GRAP 4 has been implemented. Delhi is experiencing a complete chokehold of air pollution. This is a medical emergency, top doctors in the national capital have already said.
Killer air in India's capital for the 5th straight day, prompting the Delhi government to announce the highest level of emergency measures the implementation of the controversial odd-even campaign the week after Diwali, and the closure of all schools except for classes 10th and 12th till the festival.
हवा की स्पीड 10 से 12 पहुंचती है तो ऐसा अनुमान लगाया जा रहा है कि प्रदूषण के स्तर जो यहाँ पर एक जमाव बना हुआ है उसमें थोड़ा बिखराव जो है वो हो सकता है और उसी तरह से 8 तारीख को भी जो स्पीड है वो 8 से 10 किलोमीटर के दिखा रहे हैं तो 7 और 8 का जो अगला 2 दिन है उसमें ऐसा अनुमान लगाया जा रहा है कि हवा की स्पीड बढ़ेगी और हवा की स्पीड अगर बढ़ती है तो ऐसी उम्मीद है कि प्रदूषण का जो स्तर है जो एक जमाव बन गया है ठहराव है उसमें शायद थोड़ा बिखराव दिखे.
These cars and motorbikes, among the nearly 80 lakh registered vehicles in Delhi, make up for almost 30% of the capital's pollution. While private vehicles will be affected due to the odd-even campaign, taxis and buses will continue to ply. Till the measures kick in, surviving in this poisonous haze is like puffing 20 smokes a day, and breath by breath, it is killing you. You may be coughing, sneezing and gasping for breath, but that's not the worst. The invisible, cancer-causing micropollutants in the air can penetrate your lungs and cause long-term respiratory diseases, cancer and even hamper children's brain development.
Large number of patients coming to our emergency department, children with asthmatic attacks, the female, those who are pregnant, they are also coming with the breathlessness, irritation in the eyes, sore throat and uneasiness. So we have around 25 patients per day. This is evident that already we are dealing with the medical emergency.
With PM 2.5 levels nearly 100 times the WHO's safe limit and toxic gases in the air, the National Capital Region is now visibly a gas chamber. But it's not just the NCR. 200 kilometers away in UP's Agra, the majestic Taj Mahal covered in toxic haze. From smog towers to anti-smog guns to water sprinklers to their solutions for farm fires, all of the government's measures have totally failed. We are back to breathing poison and lives are at stake. We must ask, why is it every year going from one emergency to another right in the middle of peak pollution season? Experts say last-minute efforts have little impact and the air quality crisis needs round-the-year attention.
It's important to recognize that this isn't a problem that is going to be solved in the short term through small steps, but larger actions that need to be taken over several years, including addressing sources like industrial pollution, addressing transport-related sources. These are the steps that we need to see going forward, and not just investing in visually spectacular, immediate solutions.
The big question then, what about a human right to healthy air? With camera person Mursalin, Vedant for NDTV.
Let's take you now to Bengaluru, where a shocking murder of a senior geologist in Bengaluru has put the entire city in shock. Now, police have arrested her former driver for the crime. Sources have told NDTV the driver was sacked 10 days ago for misbehavior, and officer Pratima was found stabbed to death at her residence. The officer was killed when her husband and son were away.
The murder of a senior geologist in Bengaluru has sent shockwaves throughout Karnataka. Pratima KS, who was recently promoted as the Deputy Director of Geology and Mines Department of Karnataka, was found with her throat slit on Sunday morning. The cops formed 3 investigation teams and recorded an arrest on Monday, her former driver Kiran.
One person who worked as a driver with her previously and who was removed from work last couple of months ago might be the person who traced the accused at Malay Mahadeshwar Betta in Chamarajnagar limits, from where he was brought. On being questioned, he had agreed, he had confessed to having murdered the person. For now, this is what has come out. Any new thing that comes out also, we will definitely look into that.
With no forced entry, no screams heard by neighbors, no valuables stolen, the needle of suspicion pointed to a known assailant. But what could have motivated Kiran to commit the crime, and why was he fired by Pratima? 32-year-old Kiran worked as a contract driver in the same department for 8 years. Kiran was working as Pratima's official driver for the last 4 years. He was sacked 2 months ago for divulging details of her movement to quarry owners. He was allegedly paid to give details of Pratima's movements. Pratima had complained about the driver to her higher authorities. Given the high-profile nature of the case, the question is, was he acting alone? Police are investigating if there was a larger conspiracy. Kiran had reportedly waited for Pratima to return from work, and he claims that he came into her house and begged her to reinstate him. When she refused, he claims he killed her in a fit of rage with a weapon that was in the house. As per police sources, we hear that the prime accused Kiran was mentally disturbed after having lost his job and ran into frequent fights with his family members due to financial instability. We also hear that the police tracked Kiran's whereabouts through the mobile signal and finally zeroed in on him to find out that he could have perhaps led to Pratima's death. With camera person Govind, Pratibha Raman in Bengaluru for NDTV.
Let's take you to Nepal, where NDTV is reporting from the ground. In fact, the Nepal earthquake has taken many lives. NDTV's Tanish Punjabi and Rajesh Gupta go deep inside the Jalakot area, the epicenter of this devastating earthquake. This is the report from this very area on the cost of the human tragedy.
Heartbreaking stories of death and despair deep inside Jajarkot, the epicenter of the Nepal earthquake that took over 150 lives. In the Rawat village of Jajarkot, houses lay in ruins. People clearing this rubble told NDTV that 6 family members living in this house died on the night of the earthquake. Urmila lost 2 of her children.
Only a few damaged doors are left of Urmila's destroyed house. Urmila hopes that one day she will be able to rebuild her house. But unfortunately, there will be no one to knock on the doors.
Like Urmila, 6 members of Hasti Kumari's family died on one single night, the night of the earthquake. 5 of them were children.
The Behri Nadi, which flows alongside the whole Jajarkot area, is a testament of this whole tragedy and is carrying the tears of those who lost their loved ones. With camera person Rajesh Gupta, Tanish Punjabi for NDTV.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today spoke with the President of Iran. In fact, this was regarding the de-escalation in the Israel-Hamas war. Prime Minister Modi, in fact, insisted and spoke to the President of Iran and said that need early restoration of peace and security in the region, and also said that there must be the continuous humanitarian aid as far as this crisis is concerned. The Prime Minister expressed deep concern at the terrorist incident which took place on October 7th and began this round of hostilities. Meanwhile, ladies and gentlemen, about 450, I beg your pardon, Hamas targets have been targeted by the Israel security forces. This is the claim which has been made by the IDF. Meanwhile, the UN agencies have called for an immediate ceasefire as the death toll in the Gaza Strip continues to mount.
The ground offensive of the Israeli army in Gaza in full swing. The Israeli military says it has reached the coastline at the south of the Gaza city, effectively splitting the enclave into 2 parts.
היום, כוחות צה"ל, בהובלת סיירת גולני, כיתרו את העיר עזה. הם הגיעו עד לחוף הים, בחלק הדרומי של העיר עזה, והם כיתרו את העיר עזה, ובעצם היום יש עזה צפון ועזה דרום.
Israeli media reported that IDF troops were expected to enter Gaza City within 48 hours. The IDF troops' movements came after Israeli airstrikes hit 2 refugee camps in the central Gaza Strip on Sunday, killing scores of people, according to the Hamas-run Health Ministry of Gaza. Reports say that overnight strikes on Gaza were the most intense ever since the war broke out on October 7th. In a rare joint statement, the heads of all major UN agencies expressed outrage at the civilian death toll in Gaza and called for an immediate ceasefire. While the bombardments continue, US Secretary of State Antony Blinken pushed for a humanitarian pause on his second visit to the Middle East in the last 30 days. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu reiterated his long-standing position, saying there would be no ceasefire unless hostages kept captive by Hamas are released. With each day more intense in terms of airstrikes than the last one, the sorrows of the Gazans don't seem to end. Bureau Report, NDTV.